Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and I've got a powerful report to share with you, and that is this. Are the fires that have been happening in California all this past year and the year prior, are they part of a planned narrative? Is there some sort of conspiracy between the Democratic arm and the United Nations working together to push Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030 and the fake climate change narrative? Is there some kind of land grab in store for the Democratic globalist arm there in California? Well, after what I have to show you today, you just might believe that that is absolutely the case. But in order to prove it to you, I've got to take you back to a document from 1992. Now on the screen, you're going to see a multilateral treaty on biological diversity, which the Senate never ratified, but George Herbert Walker Bush actually signed onto it in 1992. And the document is titled Convention on Biological Diversity in 1992. Now in the very preamble, we see one of the reasons for the creation of this treaty, and it states that they are concerned that biological diversity is being significantly reduced by certain human activities. In other words, humans are the problem and they are killing the planet, killing the resources, killing everything, and everybody's gonna die and everything's gonna die because humans are bad. This is the concept of the entire document. Now, it goes on a little bit further on pages 6 to about pages 10 to detail how they can fix this problem or they can ratify this solution. And how do they ratify it? Well, they say the way that we do that is to promote, to establish, develop, rehabilitate the land in order to save the planet. In other words, give big chunks of the land to the government for their control. Isn't that convenient for power-hungry dictators to control all the land, all the resources in the land? That's the very idea of this biodiversity document. It's pushing extremely Agenda 2030, Agenda 21, and saying that humanity is a sickness and that government has to seize control. Now, from that treaty came the birth of a map. And I'm going to toss that map up on the screen. This map is called Simulated Reserve and Corridor System to Protect Biodiversity. Now, this was supposedly created in the mid-90s by Dr. Michael S. Kaufman, the president of Environmental Perspectives Incorporated. But this map is linked directly to the document, the Convention on Biological Diversity from 1992. These kind of go together. But this document supposedly came sometime around that same time. But on this map, what you're going to see is red portions of land that they believe should be kept under government control and have little to no human activity. These are red areas that have little to no human activity, and they want to leave that to quote unquote nature, untouched by human hand. The problem is, years later, some of that red area has now been inhabited by California residents, and people are living on the land. So what do Democrats and the United Nations do? Let's start restricting control fire burns. You know how here in Arizona, we'll burn certain areas of the forest in order to weed out the fires. If it catches part of a forest, it won't jump over to the other part. This is control burns that we do here. So they limit that, little to no control burns in California. And they also limit to no control on de-weeding, getting out some of the forestation. So when lightning does strike, because it does, 99% of the time it strikes, lightning doesn't go away. They stop that and they stop building fire barriers. Take a look at a few of these reports. The first one here comes from Mother Jones. A century of fire suppression is why California is in flames. The fire suppression there is talking about no control burns, no fire barriers, no removing or deforestation. Here's another one, KQED.com. Why California's best strategy against wildfire is hardly ever used. What is the strategy they reference in the document? Controlled burns, fire barriers, once again, all being ignored. Here's another, San Francisco CB Social. Lack of controlled burns contribute to California wildfires. So, no fire preventative measures allowed. Little to no measures allowed. Let's protect the wildlife and not burn anything. Never mind the fact that for thousands upon thousands of years, humans over time have always built some sort of fire barriers to protect it. But no, not in California. We need to push Agenda 21 and the fake global warming climate change narrative. You see, because if fires are sparking, then there is global climate change. Never mind the fact that they caused the problem by not putting any hazards in place like controlled burns or fire barriers. I want you to look at something else. Take a look at this. This is a map from San Francisco Chronicle showing where the threats are the greatest in California for 2018. This is a map that shows where the fires are most likely to occur because of the fact that there are little to no controlled burnings or deforestation or putting of those barriers. And it states on that map, the red there and the orange there is, red is extreme possibility and orange it's elevated, right? Now this is a map that helps electric utilities prioritize fire-related repairs and maintenance. Now here's the icing on the cake, and I want you to pay extra attention to this. I'm going to throw up the map on biodiversity from the 1990s. The red shows places the United Nations doesn't want human activity. And I zoomed up through California. Now I'm also going to throw up the other map from the San Francisco Chronicle showing areas that are at greatest risk for fires in California. Now I'm going to overlap the maps, one on top of the other. And do you notice anything? The biological map that showed all the red areas that the United Nations didn't want any human activity on just so happens to be the exact area that is most at risk for fires, according to the San Francisco Chronicle. This is not a coincidence. The red and orange line up with the red. One map exactly lines up with the other. This isn't a coincidence. I believe there is something a little bit more than meets the eye. And whether or not that is actually the case, that is up to you. But let me show you one more report, because it just so happens that where the fires actually took place over the past couple of years was in that exact area on that biological map. Take a listen to Alex Jones on InfoWars.
Half the country's in red, little or no human use. And then once they've done that, we can zoom in there in California and overlay the red area, no human use, to exactly where the national wildfires are happening in California. And by them 30 years ago saying no more controlled burns, no more fire breaks, they even closed old roads and said we're rewilding, let them grow up to get rid of fire breaks. You look at exactly where the UN said under treaty they wanted to get people off the land, and you see exactly now where the fires are.
Powerful, isn't it? Let's just do a quick recap. Number one, a treaty was signed, a multilateral treaty, not ratified in Congress, but Bush signed onto it in 1992. It was the Convention on Biological Diversity in 1992. Second, a map was created. The map was a simulated reserve and corridor system to protect biodiversity. These go hand in hand with each other. Third, California almost stops all their controlled burning and fire hazards in the area specified on the prior map. Almost completely halts it. And four, surprise, surprise, because all that was halted, fires break out in the exact areas on the biodiversity map. That leaves me to number 5, which is a solution that is eventually going to be offered as a result of some of those fires in California. What's that solution going to be? Are the globalist Democrats going to grab up the land and pay people for their houses and make them move away from there in the ultimate land grab? Or are they going to put it under their control and let nature take its will? Is it have to do with Agenda 21? You know, here's what I find interesting is through this all, they said that the problem, the reason that they need to stop control burns is for global warming. So they do that and stop the fire barriers. But then now that the fires are breaking out, they're saying it's because of global warming. You see, this is the exact narrative. I want to show you one last thing because I found these interesting. I'm only going to brief in these, but there's also some patents that exist. I'll throw the first one up on the screen. Patent number 1 is from Raytheon back in 2005. But you have to remember that globalists of the world have the capability to direct radio frequencies or direct energy into specified areas. These patents do exist. This one's called Multifunctional Radio Frequency Directed Energy System. And here's another patent, number 2. This is 1993. Active Signaling System. It shows direct use of how you can direct energy beams or energy waves towards something to ignite fires or whatever the case may be. But the technology does exist. And I want to thank one of you for sending that to me. Now, I don't know if I could share your name, otherwise I would, but those patents contain some pretty phenomenal information. Anyhow, I'd love to get your comments. Is there something more sinister happening in California, or is it just the way it was, just nature being nature and God doing things at will? Well, I'd love to get your thoughts. Thanks again for tuning in. Please subscribe to my channel here and also my backup channel. I've got 2. I'll include it in the description box below, but please subscribe to both because you never know what tomorrow holds. With me revealing information like what I just revealed to you on my channel, lots of things are at risk. So please subscribe to both and also check me out on lisahaven.news and subscribe to my newsletter there. I send emails once a week. Well, thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.